Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha Shama Sundara Radha Shama Sundara Radhe. Jaya Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Jaya Radhe Sham. Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Pralandra Singha Pralandra Singha Pralandra Singha Jaya Pralandra Singha. Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Nitai Gaura Haribol 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Om Vishupad Paramahamsa Parivara Jagachaya Shota Satta Simhachalam A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Jaya Om Vishupad Paramahamsa Parivara Jagachaya Shota Satta Simhachalam Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki. Ananta Kodi Vaishnavarinda ki. Jai Shri Rup Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunathi Jiva Gopala Bhatta Saraghunath Sari Goswami Prabhu ki. Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivajari Gaura Bhaktivarinda ki. Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopal Gop Govinacham Kunda Radha Kundigiri Govardhana ki. Sri Vrindavan Dham ki. Sri Mathura Dham ki. Sri Mayapana Dham ki. Sri Jagannathpuri Dham ki. Vrinda Devi Tulsi Devi ki. Bhakti Devi ki. Ganga Yamuna Devi ki. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki. Sri Sri Gaunitai ki. Sri Sri Krishna Balaram ki. Sri Sri Radha Shama Sundar ki. Sri Sri Palanu Shingadev ki. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Samavita Bhakta Vrinda ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Gauran Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So everyone understands English? English, fine? Yes? Okay? Fine. So, I would like to say or speak something about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is known also as the seventh Goswami, Saptam Goswami. So the six Goswamis were there, associates of Mahaprabhu. Vande Rupa Sanatana, Vande Rupa Sanatana, Patugujo Siji Vago Palako, Sarup Sanat Goswami. the two Bhatta, Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta, and Raghunath Das and Jiva Goswamis. So the 6 Goswamis, they were great scholars. And so after them, of course, great personalities were there, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote so many books, or he commented on many books of the Acharyas. So therefore he was known as the 7th Goswami. And his books are well known amongst the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and Srila Prabhupada, he would, of course, with the help of his disciples, he presented some books like the sung books, Saranagati. And then other sung books were there, Gitavali, Gitamala, and Kalyan Kalpataru, in which actually the philosophy, all the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which he explained to, or he told his followers, his associates, especially Rupa and Sanatana Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami. He told them to write literatures with the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, the Siddhanta, the conclusion of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya scriptures, which they did. And so the essence of that, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he presented in his books and in all his books with very nice elaboration according to time, place and circumstances. And then in his 4 sung books, so he also mentioned the essence of our Vaishnava philosophy, the conclusion of the Vaishnava philosophy, Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. So he was born, or he appeared 2nd September 1838, according to solar calendar, according to lunar calendar. So it was the 13th day of the bright fortnight of Bhadramas, just 5 days after Radhashtami. So in a village known as Ula or Birnagar in Nadia district in West Bengal. That was actually his ancestral home. He's also from one of his actually maternal, some say uncle or grandfather. So from the mother side. And his ancestral home from the father side was in Orissa, in one district called as Kendrapara, in Choti-Mangalpur. So famous place also now, and actually there the deities which the family was worshipping, Radha Madhav, that was discovered there by one of the devotees in our Sampradaya, who was close to Govinda Maharaj in Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada's line. And so Fakir Mohan Prabhu, he found the deities, Radha Madhav, and they're being taken care of by ISKCON. And this song which we are singing every day, Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, we chant every morning before class or evening or many times wherever we have a program, we chant Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. That he was chanting for his deities, Radha Madhava. And they're very beautiful deities, small size, from Orissa. And actually, since the year 2000, these deities, Radha Madhava, they come every Kartik to Krishna Balaram temple. And they're on the altar for the month of Kartik. Very beautiful, on Radha Shyam's altar. So that is every year, except during COVID, when we were not able to travel, so the deities could not come from Bhubaneswar. So Yes, and of course next week we are celebrating the disappearance of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which is also the disappearance of Gadadhar Pandit. So that was 23rd June 1914. So according to the lunar calendar, it is Amavasya Tithi, the dark fortnight, new moon as we say also. And in this month, Jyesht Mas. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, so he was very learned and he was educated. He spoke very well English also. And actually he became a judge, high court judge, and he was very, very efficient. In India, the court cases sometimes they are very tough, and the files are there with the lawyer or with the judge for a long time. Sometimes they have hundreds of cases, and then many times the government is saying you have to try to clear these cases. Don't let them be pending. So they were very impressed with Bhaktivinoda Thakur because he was very efficient. And he was looking at the case, and then with his transcendental intelligence, Sadbuddhi, he immediately came to a conclusion and gave the statement. So one case after the other, so many cases he was handling every day in the court. So everyone was very much impressed by him. And so he also became the district magistrate in Jagannath Puri. And so that is actually the highest post in the magistrate, or the magistrate in the city. How you say in German? Bürgermeister or? And actually the district magistrate in Jagannath Puri, he has to oversee also the seva in the Jagannath temple. Of course the king is there also, but the magistrate is also there overseeing everything. And then the priests are there, and of course, but the king to some extent is responsible, and also the district magistrate, so he was there also. And so he was staying in Jagannath Puri for quite some time, and there's a place where he stayed was known as Bhakti Kutir. Bhakti Kutir. Kutir means a small place, dwelling, like a small room, like the place where I'm staying. I told the prayer is like a kutir, small place, just for one person basically, and maybe a small kitchen or bathroom as we have here where I'm staying. And so that was the place there. So I've been to that place as it was originally at Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time. And then actually ISKCON acquired the place. And then somehow they felt, well, it's a good location, which is very near to Haridas Thakur Samadhi. Anyone has been to Jagannath Puri? Yeah. Okay, only the ladies. So, very nice place, Jagannath Puri. So, you have been to Bhakti Kutir? Now or previously? You have seen the Bhakti Kutir you have seen of Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Small hut you have seen? Like 20 years ago? And that is gone now. That is gone. Bhakti Kutir is gone. The small kutir which he had is gone, and they made a big, big building. It's still known as Bhakti Kutir, but now is a temple and guest house is there, and rooms for the brahmacharis, and they have a restaurant. But before, just a small place was there where he used to stay. And his son, so he also was staying there sometime. Bimal Prasad, who became Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And so, and actually also on the Grand Road, where the Jagannath temple is, where the Rath Yatra is starting from the Jagannath temple going to Gundicha, there he was also staying. Before he had the Bhakti Kutir, he was staying there. Bhakti Kutir was later, towards the end of his life. And so he was, when he retired from everything, from his family also, he stayed there like for 4 years. And then he went to Calcutta and actually said he left his body in Calcutta. And then his body was brought to Godrumdvip, where he was also staying. So he was staying there, and when he was district magistrate, he was staying on the Grand Road. And then his son Bimal Prasad was born, appeared there, as we know. So he was very much respected, and he was very scholarly. So materially speaking, he was very qualified, and of course, spiritually speaking, we know he's an associate of the Lord. And he was very scholarly, and therefore he wrote so many books. And it's mentioned around 100 books altogether, but the main books are a little bigger, and so I will discuss a little bit about them, which are very valuable for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And so one of them is, and also of course we have to mention that, so he was married. So his first wife was known as Shaimani Devi. And so when they got married, they were young, quite young. But not long after the marriage, actually his first wife died. And then he married again. So second wife's name was Bhagavati Devi. And he had 10 children. So usually, previously in the householders, they had many children. In India, it is very common. But even in the West, I remember previously, so there were bigger families, but especially in India, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 children were there. So he had 10 children. 2 were very prominent and scholarly. So one was, his name actually was Kedarnath Datta. Kedarnath. So this holy place in India, in the Himalayas, known as Kedarnath. Anyone has been to Kedarnath? Yeah, okay. Ladies are going everywhere here. So that is in the Himalayas, 4 holy places. Of course, there are many, but very high. Kedarnath, there's a temple of Lord Shiva there. And then Badrinath, Badri Vishal is Vishnumurti there. And then Gangotri, Yamunotri, Char Dham, 4 holy places are there, which many persons are visiting. And so I saw 3. The 4th is Yamunotri, I didn't go. Gangotri, I have been there, the source of the Ganges. And Badrinath I have been also. So Kedarnath, so that is the name of that holy place where Lord Shiva is there. And Datta, that is a surname. Like my name is Mukunda Datta. So Mahaprabhu's associate's name was there, Mukunda Datta. So Datta, actually the name Datta means to give, or the giver. So Mukunda Datta, one who is giving Mukunda to others. That was Mahaprabhu's associate name, a great singer. I am Mukunda Datta Das. Das Dasana Das, the servant of the servant. So Kedarnath Datta. So that is a surname, is well known in Bengal. So then he got married, he had 10 children. So 2 were prominent. One was Bimal Prasad. So Bimala Devi is in the Jagannath temple in Puri. So Jagannath is there, Baladev, Subhadra, Sudarshan Chakra, and Lakshmi Devi is there also. And Bimal Prasad is a goddess also considered like Yoga Maya, the potency of the Lord. So he gave them name to his son, Bimal Prasad Das. And then second son, there's also another, of course, Lalita Devi, a manifestation of Durga. And of course we know Lalita as one of the gopis. So the second prominent son was Lalit Prasad. He was also a scholar, a devotee of the Lord. But then he was not completely in line with Bhaktivinoda Thakur, with his father. I mean, that sometimes it happens. The father is doing something, the son is doing something else, or some other opinion. But he was also well respected and well known amongst the Vaishnavas. Even he was in Vrindavan many years and he had followers also. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gave all his mercy to Bimal Prasad, to his divine son. And it is mentioned he was praying for a ray of Vishnu, an empowered personality to help him to preach. So because he got some divine inspiration that he should write his transcendental literatures. And actually, yes, yet somehow Kedarnath, the name is there, connected to Lord Shiva also. And then he took shelter of some Vaishnavas also. And especially Jagannath Das Babaji later on. But he was not his Diksha Guru, Jagannath Das Babaji, he was his Shiksha Guru. Diksha Guru just escaped my memory. Anyone knows Diksha Guru name? Vipin Bihari Goswami. Vipin Bihari Goswami was his Diksha Guru. So he respected him, but he had more faith in Jagannath Das Babaji because he was in line with Rupa Goswami, who is most confidential associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Gaur Lila and is Rupa Manjari in Krishna Lila. So therefore his name is there in the Parampara, which is Shiksha Parampara more than Diksha. So as he became then fully absorbed in Vaishnava literatures and following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so then he wrote many books. He was inspired by the Lord to write transcendental literatures and also to preach to the English-speaking people. Like India was, of course, as we know, was occupied by the English, and before even the Portuguese they came, even the French, and so they were trying to conquer India, which of course was not possible. But they had some influence, especially than the English. So therefore he also knew English very well, and of course Hindi and Sanskrit and Bengali. So many of his books are of course in Bengali language. Of course he knew Oriyan language also from Orissa, Shingadeva Ki. But most of his books were in Bengali language, but then some in Hindi also, some in Oriyan language also, but some books also in English. So he sent one book also to the West. And in 1896, the year Prabhupada was born, he sent some book to America and even to Europe. The name of the book, anyone remembers? Yeah, about Lord Chaitanya. Yes.
Lord Chaitanya's life and precept.
Yes, Lord Chaitanya, his life and precept. And then later on, when Prabhupada was in New York, so one of the devotees went one time to the library and he saw this book of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he had heard about Bhaktivinoda Thakur from Prabhupada. And when nobody was looking around, he took the book and he gave it to Prabhupada. Transcendental theft. So Prabhupada, of course, he was happy to see this book of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I wonder where the book is. Somewhere it must be. So, of course, it is available now also. And online you can even see it. In India, bookstalls, they are there, where they have Vaishnava literatures. And, of course, not so many people, they were able to understand about Mahaprabhu, especially in the West. Only when Prabhupada came to the West, and of course Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada also sent some disciples. Before Prabhupada, they went to Germany. They did some preaching, even in Germany, and one or two became devotees. And one German devotee went to India also, and he became then a disciple, not only disciple, but a sannyasi of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. And many years ago when I was here in Germany, actually, I met one of the disciples of the disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, the German sannyasi. So by Bhaktivinoda Thakur's mercy, so Bhaktisiddhanta was successful. Although Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada wanted to take initiation from Bhaktivinoda, but he was saying, no, you should take from Gokishodas Babaji, my friend. Because otherwise, like in India, they have the family lineage, although they may not be qualified. Like the different families who were there, from Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar. And then the sons become Guru, and then his son becomes Guru, and like this way. And they continue. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur saw that many times they were not really qualified. So then he didn't want this, and he didn't want that there should be family lineage in this way of Guru and disciple, or father and son who become Guru and then disciple. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote books which his son, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, published. So he had a printing press known as Brihad Mridanga, because by Mridanga and chanting Harinam, the holy names, you can have some sound vibration and people can become attracted. But by printing books, you can distribute so many books, and wide and far you can distribute these books. So he, especially the books of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was printing and then getting them distributed. One of the main book, which I would like to discuss first, was Jaiva Dharma. Jivka Dharma. So the religion of the living entity. Jiva means the living entity. We are jivas. We are spirit soul. We are not this body. So Dharma means religion. Dharma also means the constitutional position of, or nature of a person. So, for example, Jivare Sopoi Krishneri Nityadas, we are servants of Krishna. The constitutional position of us, the jivas, is to serve Krishna or to serve Vishnu or Narayan or Ramchandra or Mahaprabhu. So service to Krishna, that is dharma. So that is the nature of the jiva actually, his true nature. And so he has very nicely explained, and that book is actually basically in 3 parts. So first is explaining about dharma, what is the real dharma, Vaishnav dharma, also known as Sanatan dharma, eternal religion, Vastav dharma, real religion, Parodharma, transcendental religion, Nitya dharma, also again eternal religion. So different names are there for dharma or for the actual religion of the soul. And so that is, the first part is also known as Sambandha Gyan. That is, 3 parts of knowledge are there, and actually in all the Vedic literatures, Sambandha Gyan, Abhideya Gyan and Prayoja Gyan are discussed, like Vedanta Sutra or other books. The Vedic literatures are in 3 parts. So Sambandha Gyan, first we must have some knowledge that we are under this body, we are spirit soul, and that God exists. We have a relationship with God, eternal relationship, and God is in the spiritual realm, and we are in this realm, in the material realm. Somehow we came here. So that is in few words, Sambandha Gyan, but he has more elaborately explained Sambandha Gyan. So that is the first part, specifically in regards to dharma. What is real dharma? Nitya dharma. And then another term is explaining Naimittika dharma. Naimittika means temporary, or it is for some time. It is not regular. It is not eternal. And just like in the daily life, so we have Nitya Karya, daily activities which we have to do. Like every day morning we have to get up early and take a bath. That is a regulative principles, Nitya Karya, which we have to do every day without fail. So that is part of daily life. So whereas before we were devotees, as we know, and in the West, not everybody is taking early morning bath. Not even taking bath every day. So even in India nowadays, in the cities, they don't take bath every day. But those who are following the Vedic culture, Vaishnava culture, they will take bath every day, every morning. That is part of the daily activities. Nitya means also daily. And the Naimittika Karya, activities which we do sometimes. Just like if one is married, so some activities are there, especially in regards to the children, so known as samskar, purificatory rites. So that is only performed sometimes when there is a need. So the second part is about Abhideya Gyan. Abhideya, that is a process. The process of devotional service. Service to Krishna. And also in there he's explaining about 10 essential truth known as Dasha Mula Tattva. So Mul Tattva means the root principles of the Absolute Truth. Das means 10, which actually were given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his followers, Rupan, Sanatan, Raghunath Das Goswami, and which he mentioned as a separate book in this name, but specifically also in this book, Jaiva Dharma is mentioning. And then also in the second part is about the most important anga, limb of devotional service. As we know, as Rupa Goswami is mentioning, 64 limbs of devotional service. Chosat ang. First limb What is the first limb of devotional service? Guru Padashray, taking shelter of the lotus feet of the spiritual master. And then he's explaining what to do and what not to do. And in there, Navavida Bhakti is there, the ninefold process, which is explained by Prahlad Maharaj also. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmani Vedanam. Hearing and chanting about the Lord, remembering the Lord, serving His lotus feet, deity worship, offering prayers, always being in that understanding that I'm the servant of the Lord. Dasyam. And that is part of Sambandha Gyan also. I am the servant of Krishna. I am a spirit soul. That is Sambandha Gyan. With this Sambandha Gyan we should chant. We should serve. And then afterwards, Sakyam, that is when we understand that we have an eternal relationship with Krishna and more intimate. So especially in Braj, intimate relationship is there with Krishna. And when one is purified in consciousness, then Atmanivedanam. Atmanivedanam means surrender completely from the self. So now, sometimes we hear, Prabhu, you have to surrender. You have to surrender what the president says. Or the temple commander. Surrender, Prabhu. Okay, yes, Prabhu. Of course, we know also in war also sometimes. So, two countries there in war, and then one is victorious, and then one has to surrender. It is by force. Surrender. Now you surrender. We conquered you. So, in the beginning, actually, some kind of surrender must be there, because the conditioned soul doesn't not really want to serve Krishna. It's a kind of almost a little kind of force, or getting up for Mangalatik. In the beginning, a little difficult, or chanting, the mind doesn't want. Maybe the first few days is something new in the mind. Oh, nice program here, Mangalatik, and nice chanting. But then after sometimes the mind is thinking again, the material mind, because that is the nature of the mind, accepting and rejecting. Okay, I've been doing Mangalatik for some time, but maybe I should do something else. I've been chanting 1 year, and as a kind, the mind doesn't want to cooperate anymore. So then you have to try to preach to the mind. Okay, you surrender and you chant. Are you here with me? But actually, of course, even if one wants to surrender, so to say, in the beginning it is not really possible, because one is under modes of material nature, and therefore it is not possible to be fully surrendered or taking shelter of Krishna. There's another name, and that is known as Sharanagati. That is the book, also the sung book of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Sharanagati. Shara means the shelter. Agati, coming to the shelter of Krishna. We should take shelter of Krishna. That is, I feel, a better word than even surrender. So taking shelter of Krishna. So we try. But again, in the beginning, it is not easy. But in purified consciousness, one can take shelter of Krishna. Automatically, it is there, it will be there. And then true humility will be there. In the beginning, some humility is there if we know nothing. But then true humility comes when one is purified in consciousness, and then strong faith will be there. So these things Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explaining also. And then he's explaining also about the chanting of the holy names. There are 3 stages: Aparadhanam, Abhasnam, and Shuddhanam. So Aparadhanam, that is when one is chanting and some offenses are committed. Of course, the devotee doesn't want to commit offense, but in the conditioned state, it is almost unavoidable that some mistake will be there. From the body, the mind, or even by words. One will say something to some Prabhu or to somebody which may not be so nice. because one is under most material nature. And therefore, just like in deity worship, although in deity worship those who are on the altar, they're brahmanas, they're supposed to be already more advanced. And they're little advanced, therefore they got second initiation. They go on the altar and they have to chant some mantras and do some purification, sipping water for purification, so that they understand that is also Buddha Shuddhi. One has to speak in one's language, so that one may understand that I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul. And then in this way, then one may serve the deities, and after every seva, one has to chant some mantras for obtaining forgiveness, aparada kshama mantra. And even Sanatana Goswami in his book, Hari Bhakti Vilas, so there is explaining also that every night actually devotee, before taking rest, he should beg forgiveness from the Lord. My dear Lord, if I offended you, kindly forgive me. Or Krishna Nam, if I committed some offense, please forgive me. Because Krishna Nam are not different, so you can approach Krishna Nam. And then, if I offended any Vaishnavas or any living entity, kindly forgive me. That everyone should do every day before taking rest. So that is the beginning stage of chanting. But then if one is a little more advanced, purified in consciousness after chanting for some times, some years, some lifetimes, then one is chanting Abhas Nam. So that is a reflection of the name. It is not yet the full name, because Shuddha Nam, pure name, is Krishna himself. But if the consciousness is not pure, then Krishna will not be fully manifest. And so the devotee who is chanting with some offenses still is known as Prakrita Bhakta, materialistic devotee, neophyte devotee. And the one who is chanting Abhas Nam, the reflection of the name, so he is known as Bhaktabhas, a semblance of a devotee, not really a devotee. So therefore we should not think I'm devotee, I'm trying to be a devotee. So those who are chanting Shuddha Nam, the pure name, and Krishna will be dancing on the tongue, or in the ear, or in the heart, in the consciousness. So the pure devotee can see Krishna while he is chanting and his pastimes. So that is Shuddha Nam, and that is a pure devotee, Shuddha Bhakta. So, so 3 chapters are in regards to chanting the holy names. And then, in the 3rd part, so then is explaining about the higher principles of devotional service. Of course, based ultimately on also the teachings of Mahaprabhu, which has been then written by the Goswamis, especially Rupa Goswami, and we are known as Rupanuga Vaishnavas, followers of Rupa Goswami. And Pranam Mantra for Bhaktivinoda Thakur is mentioned. Nama Bhaktivinodaya Satchanananda Namine Gaura Shakti Sarupaya Rupanuga Varayate. Rupanuga Varayate. That Varaya means the best of those who are followers of Rupa Goswami. So we are known as Rupanuga Vaishnavas. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was completely in line with Rupa Goswami and with his teachings. And so, of course, that to from Sambandha Jnana, Abhideya Jnana, and Prayojan Jnana. So that is, Prayojan means also the necessity. It is necessary to come to the highest stage in order to realize Krishna and realize our own transcendental nature, our transcendental form. And then we can enter the pastimes of Krishna and be transferred to the spiritual world, to Golok Vrindavan. So it is a gradual process. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur is nicely explaining. So of course the third part is for those who are more advanced. And so therefore, actually, in the beginning, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada also, he only published the first and second part of that book. And then later on, he also published the third part. And also, then it has been translated in Hindi, also in English. And so Prabhupada, of course, first we should read Prabhupada's books. Bhagavad-gītā, Srimad-Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the small books, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction. So I read Prabhupada's books many, many times, all of them. Like Bhagavatam, I read 6 times, the whole Bhagavatam in English, and 2 times in Hindi. So Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad-gītā at least 10 times, the whole. And Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is my favorite book, so I read 12 times in English, 2 times in Hindi. So, because it is always nectar, and always you find something new. And when you read, new realization, because we are advancing also. And as you're advancing, because these books are actually transcendental. And Bhagavatam is no different from Krishna. Chaitanya Charitamrita no different from Mahaprabhu. It's about Mahaprabhu. So then by reading, the more we become qualified, then we can see more, according to our stage. So, and then, as Prabhupada has mentioned also, we should read the books of the Acharyas. And then we may learn more, in more detail. Prabhupada has given the essence in all his books. But then we can get some more detail from the books of the previous Acharyas. So, and everything becomes then clear. So because I read all of Prabhupada's books and I read his books also, so I feel we can share, and especially because disappearance day of Bhaktivinoda Thakur is there in a few days. So it is nice to discuss for a few days about Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his wonderful books, his contribution. His contribution, just like our Prabhupada's books, of course, Prabhupada's books are there, but then of course his contribution is also that he established many temples all over the world. And he went all over the world and inspired many devotees to become devotees. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he didn't build any temple. But he made some devotees, yet a few disciples also. But he wrote so many books. And of course some significant things he did for the benefit of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. For example, he discovered the appearance place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which nobody exactly knew in Navadvip. So they had some idea, but it was not the actual place. So when he was in Mayapur, he was doubting, and then he was reading different books. And then he realized it is not where the most people are saying. So at that time he was staying in Godrum. So it is one of the islands in Navadvip, Godrum Dvip. There's 2 rivers are there, the Ganges, and one other river is there, Jalangi. So from Mayapur, if you cross the Jalangi, you will come to Godrum Dvip. So he had his house there, which was known as Surabi Kunj. Anyone has been there? Surabi Kunj? Yeah. So his house was there, and there was a mango tree there also, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time. Even I saw that mango tree many years ago, but then mango tree disappeared. And now they have a big temple there, and a bigger temple there with deities of Gonitai and Radha Madan Mohan and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But his room where he was staying is still there, Surabhi Kunj. And in one of his songbook is mentioning also Surabhi Kunjate in Surabhi Kunj, and then is describing his experience. And nearby is Swananda Sukhada Kunj, where he was doing his office work and he was doing his research, and where his samadhi is now also there. And actually he established also deities of Gaur Gadadhar when he was there. They're there also, beautiful deities. And also, so from there actually, he had a vision one time, he saw some light across his place where he was staying there. And then he was seeing all the different scriptures, and then he was coming to the conclusion that that must be the appearance place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he went there and he asked one great saint, his Shiksha Guru, Jagannath Das Babaji, to come there also. And he was 130 something years old at that time. 130 years. And he lived up to 140. He could hardly walk. So he had a servant, he was carrying him in a basket, in a wooden basket, and keeping on his head, and walking there. So he went there, put him down, and then Bhaktivinoda Thakur asked him, Babaji Maharaj, I'm feeling this is, according to my research, this seems to be the appearance place of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there were many tulsi trees there, tulsi bushes there. And when he was there, he said, yes, it is the appearance place of Mahaprabhu. He jumped out of his basket, although he was under 30 years old, in ecstasy. Jai Gauranga, Jai Gauranga. And so then it was confirmed. So that is a great contribution. And then there a temple was established, and he had asked his son, Bimal Prasad, who became Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, to establish temple there. So he never established any temple, but he asked his son. Like father, like son. So if the father can't do something, he will tell his son to do. And his son did it. He established many Gaudiya Math temples all over India. And then he sent some to Germany, England. They were a little successful. But then he had told Prabhupada to go to the Western country and to speak to the English-speaking people about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur told Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada to establish a temple in Yogapit, that is the appearance place of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which he did, and then he told him he should spread the glories of Mayapur Navadvip Dham, which he did also. So that is a great contribution, and he presented his books with the essence of the six Goswamis' teachings. So that is a great contribution, and therefore his son, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, he printed them and he told his disciples to read, and therefore Prabhupada also was aware of all these books. And so the sung books at least he printed, and with the help of his disciples also. But then his disciples also translated other books. Jayavadharma has also been translated, and Bhanu Swami, a disciple of Prabhupada also, he translated practically all of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books in English for our benefit. So those who have read Prabhupada's books, all of them, they may read them also, if they are scholarly inclined. So it is a big treasure, so it's a great contribution of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he established the appearance place, but of course, So his great contribution also, he brought Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada to this world, who became the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, so that is a great contribution too. And then through Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, so he established temples, and then his books were printed and distributed all over India, and then even in the West, now even in the West. So the books are there. So, of course, still a little more to say about this Jaiva Dharma, but it is already 8:10. So we will stop here and then we'll continue tomorrow. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki. Anyone has any question so far? Any question? Yes.
Can you give advice for
How to read so much? Well, yes, you must have the desire, the determination, and you have to make the time. And so I was reading every day, like 2 hours a day, every day. 2 hours a day I was reading, just making the time. Of course, still Seva was there also, and we have to chant our rounds, but because it was just my nature, I always liked to read, even in my childhood before. I used to read many books, especially about philosophy. And so then when I came to ISKCON, then I quickly read the books, and again and again, because as nectar, and because anyhow we are conditioned, we go one time through, and then, it's almost forgotten what is there. Except important things, then we can remember. But then you read again, and then you can remember again, but then usually the purpose also, but even then you can get new realization. I used to make notes also. Every time I was reading and making notes, what is important in the purports or important verse. I was learning also verses. And then, first time reading notes, second time reading, again making different notes. Because different realization, different things become important when one is more advanced, one is seeing that. So it is very mystical, transcendental. And then it's ever fresh. It's not, I read it all already. No, I read, but still then, because then it becomes more solid in the consciousness. And because the nature is there to forget, so it's good to read again, and then you can remember again. So you just have to do it. Read every day, at least 1 hour. If you can read 2 hours, then you can achieve something. Okay? You're reading every day, 1 hour? No, you should do 1 hour. If you don't read 1 hour, you can hardly finish. And then, of course, if you're concentrated, then you can read fast also. If you're spaced out, then you're reading and you're thinking other things also. So, if you take notes, that will help also. Of course, writing a little bit, that takes time, but it is helpful. Then you're more concentrated, and then you just quickly write, and then you go ahead and you write again if you find something important. And then after, as a remembrance, that you can see the notes again. I still have the notes somewhere in Vrindavan. I took them with me, a whole pile of notes. Okay? Yes.
I also have a question. Sometimes I make a notes, but then I don't read them.
Then you don't read them again.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in which situation I should read them maybe before reading?
Yes, of course, it may be there, but you see the thing is just by writing. So first you read, this is important, then you write it. And then it is more in the consciousness. There is more chance that it will come back to your consciousness by writing down. It is becoming more, even for example, you hear something If you tell it to somebody, then it will be more in the consciousness. It will remain longer. Just by hearing, many times you hear, it goes out through the other ear. But if you hear and you speak what you heard, then it will make some impression. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. So same, you read, it's like hearing. And you write, it is like speaking. And then you can remember. Even if you don't read again, still you may remember at least something that is there. Even all the notes, I mean, I didn't read since maybe 20 years, the notes. But one time, I made notes and then I remember I looked it up again. What did I read? All the notes, and it was interesting, but then after. So the most important things actually they will be there in the consciousness. And then, you may not remember, because how much you can remember. We don't have a computer brain usually in the age of Kali. Those who have, they are known as Shrutidhar. Whatever they hear, they can remember. Still, some people are like that, but they are very, very rare. But in India, there are some exceptional persons they can remember. So some devotees, I knew maybe 400 verses of the Bhagavad-gītā. But then not practicing, then you forget. I knew the 5th, 7th, 12th, 15th, 5th, 7th, 9th, 12th, and 15th chapter by heart. And I used to recite 2 chapters every day. The 5th and the 7th, the 7th and the 9th, the 9th and the 12th, the 12th and the 15th. And again starting. By heart I used to recite. And then, so then it stays. But then if you don't, but the most important ones, they stay in the consciousness, and then it will come up. So, but if you don't repeat and the body gets older, then you may forget. But then, and then when you get older, then you should share your knowledge. And then so many things will come up because you have read and you have assimilated and realized, hopefully also, if you practice nicely, then it is there in the consciousness. And then actually when you speak, then Krishna will give you the remembrance. It is there, and Krishna is helping us. He will give you remembrance what to say when you speak. Therefore we pray also before we speak to Guru Gauranga Krishna, and then they will help us. And they give things which maybe for many years we remember reading or realizing something, and then we don't, because so much information is there. At one point, when I read so many times all the books, and then I read enough books and my brain is like full. Like a computer, or even more in the mobile than, storage is there, how much you can store in the mobile. At one point it's full. I was feeling my brain and consciousness is full. And I thought maybe I should chant more so I can realize more. I started chanting more than 16, as Prabhupada said. 16 is the minimum. Already I did 16, then I chanted 20 and like that, and then reading more. But at one point, then I thought I should chant more. Okay, double it, 32. And then doing 7 reading, still I'm reading every day, but a little less. Because now I teach more also. But still I read a little bit. But because I teach, then teaching is also, or reading, or then giving. So that is also, I'm speaking. As I'm speaking, I'm hearing also. Or I'm reading from the book. So I'm speaking, but I'm hearing also. And even it is mentioned in the 10th canto, Shukadev is speaking to Parikshit. And he's saying, by the recitation of this katha, 3 are purified. The speaker, those who are hearing, and those who are asking question. And in the purport, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining that the speaker is most benefited. because he's fully absorbed and actually is guided by Krishna. Krishna is giving realization. We read and then we practice, we get some realization which ultimately is coming from Krishna. But then even while you speak like this, then sometimes something new realization is coming. Oh wow, there's something new. So I'm speaking and hearing also. The speaker is most benefited. Second, the one who is asking question, because he has a question, so he wants to know the answer. And the third one is the others who may be sleeping also, but no problem, they will get some benefit because the sound vibration is there. So, but most benefited is the speaker. So, and then those who are asking question, and then those who are simply listening, everyone is benefited. Of course, if the speaker is a pure devotee, he's all right. But still, he may, because the knowledge is also unlimited. Krishna is unlimited, the knowledge is unlimited. He may get some new realization, even a pure devotee. Pure devotee has knowledge, he knows Krishna is realized, but still he can learn more. He's learning more. Because even the books are there, so much knowledge is there. The Vedic literature is unlimited practically almost. And so he may learn something more, he realize something more. So that is the situation. Okay? So we'll stop here. Last question? Okay.
You mentioned that before taking rest, one should asking all living entities for forgiveness.
Yes.
Is there a certain mantra for this?
Yes, you can chant a mantra also, like the pujaris is chanting mantra hinam kriya hinam bhakti hinam janadana yapujita maideva paripurnam tarastome. You can chant this one.
Oh yes.
Or there are many mantras for obtaining forgiveness. Aparada sashaniki antihana samaya.
Yes.
Different mantras are there also. You may chant anyone with, begging forgiveness from the Lord. So,
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Hare Krishna. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Rupa Goswami ki, Sachinandana Gaura Hare ki, Sri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Nrsingadev Bhagavan ki, Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj ki, Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol.